they been cramping my style all week. Craving chocolate trees, checking pants, checking seeds, sipping herbal tea, and fight for menstrual equity. Sheesh, man, I kick Cramp's ass. 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 You're now tuned in to the Kick Cramp's Ass podcast with your host, Brittany Walker, advocating for menstrual equity, period poverty, and womb wellness. New episodes on Menstruation Mondays.
Happy Menstruation Monday, everybody. We are back after our 2-week hiatus, our bi-week self-love, self-care. We talk to you guys all the time about taking time to yourself, also for detoxing your body. So this was just such an amazing time for me to just catch up halfway through the year. So we want to come back and finish the second half of season 2 of KCA Podcast Strong. We are so excited about today. Again, happy Menstruation Monday. It is Monday, July 15th, 2024. And the reason why I'm so excited about today is episode 17, Shifting Mindsets for Menstruation in the Military. Our special guest, we have an in-house guest. Hey, really is in my in-house studio, but it's okay. But special guest, I have Staff Sergeant Jeanette Williams. She is a U.S. Army veteran. She is also the author of who wrote the foreword to our book, NNG's Formula to Kick Cramp's Ass, a blueprint to naturally get rid of menstrual cramps. And I have another surprise in just a moment on what she means to KCA. So we're going to talk about that in just a second. Now, July is also Minority Mental Health Month. That's another reason why I want to take a quick hiatus coming into July to get that mental together. So we're going to be talking about mental health tips for the remainder of the month. And July is also Fibroid Awareness Month. So, last month, we spoke to the fibroid queen in Ghana, Africa, and she gave us so many amazing gems. And if you follow us on social media, on our YouTube channel, you'll be seeing that we have already been posting things about Fibroid Awareness Month. So we're so excited about that. But let's go ahead and get into our normal zhuzh, okay? Now, we like to kick off each episode with the I am power statement. I representing inspiration, A representing affirmations, and M representing manifestations. And today's I am power statement is, I am willing to hear and understand information thoroughly before judging if the data is relative to me and my overall well-being. Ashe. All right, guys. Now, we also like to do a quote of the day. So today's is, never limit yourself because of others' limited imagination. Never limit others because of your own limited imagination. Don't let the energy leeches come in and those distractions come in and try to be invaluable to your life. In other words, is what it's saying. But that came from Mae Jemison. If you guys don't know, the first Black woman to actually go into space. So sorry, I'm really into aerospace and all of that good stuff, metaphysics, astronomy, whatever's in the universe. So I am all here for Mae Jemison. Now, we always like to have a tea of the day, and we always are sipping on our Cramp Elixir. But today I was being extra. Instead of having the hot Cramp Elixir, it is hot as hell outside. Here in Vegas last week, we got to 117, honey, but this week we're 105. So I decided to do a cold Cramp Elixir. But as you can see, the color's a little different. And it's because I wanted to be extra with my chef life. And add extra ingredients, pomegranate juice, we got orange juice, we got key lime, we got lemon juice. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick sip. You got yours? We're going to take a quick sip and take this quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with you guys, all right?
Have you tried our bestseller, the Cramp Elixir? It's our herbal tea blend designed to reduce and eliminate menstrual cramps, PMS symptoms, and other uterine health issues that are hindering your day-to-day progress. Our elixir may decrease inflammation, reduce stress and anxiety, regulate blood flow, balance your mood, and it can kick cramps' ass. It includes a variety of herbs including hibiscus, red raspberry leaf, calendula, motherwort, ashwagandha, plus more. Head over to kickcrampsass.org and grab yours today. Now, back to the show.
Welcome back for that commercial, guys. We hope that you enjoyed it. Now, let's go ahead and get into today's episode. We are so excited about our guest today. Again, from the United States Army. She is a veteran, a staff sergeant when she originally wrote the book. If you guys see it, it says sergeant in there, but she was promoted since then and now is a veteran. And she happens to also be my wife. So I'm so excited about this conversation. So let's go ahead and introduce Staff Sergeant Jeanette Williams. Now, she was born and raised in East Texas and has a strong connection to her hometown. She served in the Army for 8 years, where she gained valuable skills and experiences. She holds a bachelor's degree in business administration, reflecting her commitment to education and professional growth. Additionally, she is an entrepreneur, demonstrating her drive and passion for creating and managing her own ventures. So, guys, can you please help me welcome Jeanette Williams to our show? Welcome, Jeanette.
Hi, guys.
So, guys, I'm going to give you a heads up now. I'm probably going to be super goofy in this episode. You know, I'm normally super serious, and it's kind of hard looking at my wife. I'm really in love with my wife. So if I have googly eyes or if I start flirting, I apologize in advance. It's just the way that we get down. So this is going to definitely be an interesting episode. But let's go ahead and roll right into it. Now, it's really funny us coming off. Well, one thing, today is July 15th. So today is my wife's birthday. So happy solar return to my baby. We are so excited about what we're going to be getting into and all the things that we have coming in the coming years. So I'm just happy to be able to celebrate another year with her. And then another funny thing that we're kind of laughing about in this episode is we just came off of our cycles. So it's crazy that you will find research that says that there's no such thing that you can't sync up with people on your cycles. And I just don't believe it. We've actually been friends for 11 years. We were together for a small amount of time, separated, came back together, and now we've been back together for 3.5 years. We've been married for almost 2 years of those 3.5. And we have been synced up quite a bit. People say, oh, you know, it's just a coincidence when you're around somebody all the time, or, you know, your best friends are this, that, and the third. But literally, like, her and I started on the same day. We ended on the same day. We're trying to figure out who's going to go fix the tea, who's going to go fix the snacks. In addition to, in the past, I've had that with best friends and stuff. Like, we literally, all me and my best friends used to start on the exact same day. So I don't understand why researchers say that there's no such thing as syncing up. Maybe I need to do my own research and prove that you can sync up with somebody. So we're coming fresh off of cycles. Bushy eye, or what is it? Bright eye, bushy tail. So we're so excited about this conversation. So Jeanette, or would you rather me say Jay?
Jeanette's fine.
Jeanette, may you please tell us more about your history with your menstrual cycle? Why are we even having this conversation with you today about menstrual cycles, managing that in the military, and what that does? So tell us a little bit about your menstrual cycle history.
My history with my menstrual cycle has not been the best. It's been one of those things that I dreaded, you know, every month. I believe my cramps really did not start until I experienced sexual trauma. So it was one of those things. I went from having no symptoms, you know, being an athlete, no symptoms, to going to college, getting raped, you know, my freshman year, to now all of a sudden I'm dealing with cramps, something I had never dealt with, you know, going all through high school, junior high. So experiencing that changed my cycle. And a lot of people don't realize that sexual trauma can affect how your menstrual cramps actually come about. And that's something that we don't talk about. And from that time on, from about 18, 19 years old, I've experienced cramps. And it's just been one of those situations where I'm like, oh, my cycle's getting ready to come. Let me pop these 800 milligram ibuprofens to get prepared. And there was one instance when I was in college where I took way too much ibuprofen. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I wasn't going to die, but I felt like I was dying. And I learned then, you know, ibuprofen may work, but it's not going to be the healthiest form. So since then, I've been working on not taking medication and just honing in on what's going to work for me. Mm-hmm. And what's worked for me is what's in your book.
Absolutely, absolutely. Do you mind also touching on just a bit about like cervix issues, or like because of the issues you've had in your past, what people have tried to recommend to resolve
Hmm.
those issues?
Well, while I was in the military, their biggest thing was always
Excuse
birth
me.
control. It started out I was taking the pills. That helped with the cramps, but then I gained 30 pounds.
Hmm.
And then later on they was like, well, we're gonna give you intravenous. So they gave me the thing on the inside.
Right.
I can't remember the name of it.
IVF? Oh, no, 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 no.
It was the Mirena, I think it's called.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think that is a form
they
of
kind of
IVF.
up and just like, hey, we're gonna give you this. This is
Yeah.
gonna help because I have a they said I have a tumor in my cervix, but it grows during my cycle because of too much estrogen. So because of that, they were like, here, we're gonna put you on birth control again. I didn't want to do it, but I have to exhaust my options. Being in the military, you have to exhaust all options for any kind of treatment. So I went ahead and took it. Wasn't what I really wanted to do, but it was a form of treatment that I had to go through. Again, it helped with the cramps, but I gained 30 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to be in the military and start gaining extra weight because in the military, your job is to stay fit, stay in shape. I couldn't stay at the 130 pounds that they wanted me at being on birth control.
Right.
Even though they say you don't gain weight on birth control. Ask a woman on birth control if she's gained weight since she's been on
Baby.
it. So
Baby.
that's kind of like what I had to deal with treatment wise. But since then, before I got out the Army, I removed the birth control that they had me on, started Pilates, and I started seeing a difference not only in my body, but in my health and the way my cycles reacting to everything.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think it's just a lot of people that are also suffering in the military. You know, they're going through all these things. And if you're being told by your higher ups, like, hey, you go to um, the emergency room or you go see your physician. And if they tell you this is what you do, then this is what you do. And you go from there. I don't think that there were many holistic options available. And we are noticing that even in not the military, if you're a traditional civilian and you're going to your OBGYN or you're going to the emergency room because something is going on with your cycle, more than likely they're going to give you some type of birth control. They're going to give you some type of medication to deal with the pain. They're going to recommend hysterectomy or some type of other surgery to help out with things instead of honing in on the foundation on where did this all start from.
Mm-hmm.
Not like what can we do to temporarily put a bandage on something for now, but where is this really coming from so we can try to resolve it. So this is already starting to become an interesting conversation. So excited. So what galvanized you to write the foreword to NNG's formula to kick cramps ass, a blueprint to naturally get rid of menstrual cramps? Now, I'm going to give a quick backstory before she answers this. So 2021, I had already begun writing the book in 2020, but 2021 I had a little hiatus, and at that time frame, her and I came back together, and we started dating again. And once we got in a relationship, it just so happened when her birthday came around. I gave her a series of gifts for her birthday, but one of the gifts that I gave her, I asked her would she like to write the foreword to my book. And you're probably thinking, that's selfish as hell. Like, that's your book on her birthday. But it was just something that we had in common with writing. Something that always connected us in the past was our love for writing poetry, short stories, and books. We are avid nerds. We love reading. We have a slew of books. Like y'all guys always see my bookshelf, but I still have a slew of books. But then in her office and warehouse, this don't touch what she has. So we have so many books in the house. We even use them as like decorations in our living room. Like, that's how many books we have. So it was very meaningful for me, for one, for us to get back together after so many years, but two, for her to want to embark on this journey. You know, she was the first person to find out that I had diabetes, 10 years ago. She knows about all my health issues. So once I started reversing everything, she was a real believer because she knew what I was really going through, what I really had to endure. So it was very important for me for her to be a part of this book, and to put her insight in, because I know that she wasn't going to come in like, oh, well, we're dating, so I'm just going to write all these nice things so you sound good. I know that she's going to be honest, because that's what we're about, being raw and honest. And we can't really serve or help people if we're just bullshitting at the end of the day. So again, coming back to the question, I just find it funny 3 years later, it's your birthday, and we're talking about the book after I asked you 3 years ago to write the forward to the book. So what galvanized you to say, yeah, I'm going to let me go ahead and hop on this book and give my 2 cents?
For me, it was one, giving you your flowers. Because a lot of people don't understand what it is that you're trying to do. Like, they look at it as like, I hear you. But until they actually go through it, they don't really get it.
Yeah.
And we were at a point where I was starting to truly, truly get it on my own. And I kind of wish I would have did it years ago when you tried to get me to start this formula before it even became a book. And I just was not in a place mentally to where I could understand where you were trying to get me. And once I understood what you were trying to do and help not just yourself and help me, but to help others, I'm like, I got to write the forward to this book, because she's already eliminated half the issues that I have going on without me fully diving in yet. And once I fully dove in, and it's just like, okay, this, and this is disappearing, even though they said I'm going to forever be on medicine unless I had surgery. And so I had to write the forward of the book.
Right.
You know, giving you your flowers while you're still here, but also acknowledging what you've done. That is why I wrote the forward.
I appreciate that, babe. Thank you. I think, like we've talked about on this podcast, if you've had a consultation with me or you actually have menstrual therapy with KCA, you understand that I'm going to drill into you. You're shifting your mind. It's all about shifting your mindset. Like she said, she was not in the place. And we've all been there. I have been in the place where somebody gave me some really valid information about holistic approaches. And I'm just like, I'm not giving that up. One thing that I would like to call out, June 27th made 4 years that I stopped drinking alcohol. And that might not sound big to you guys, but that's a big deal for me, because alcohol has always been prevalent in my life. I talk to you guys all the time. I'm from Southern Texas. Families from Louisiana. Alcohol's included in everything. We've always had a bar in our house. You know, when you celebrate, you drink. When you have a birthday party, you drink. When you get a new promotion, you drink. When you sad, you drink. When you break up with your significant other, you drink. You know, people use alcohol as a major vice. And that was one of those things that I had to shift my mind on. Like, I'm not going to let this go because it's a part of life. But once I realized what it was doing to my body and the detrimental effects that it was having on my body, then I let it go. It took a lot of mind shifting. And in the process of indulging in KCA's formula, it takes a lot of mind shifting. It takes a lot of realizing, damn, maybe I am a little low vibrational. I don't want to admit to it, but maybe I am. You know, maybe I am following the crowd. Maybe I am being brainwashed. Maybe I'm just doing what everybody else is doing, instead of just standing up for yourself, having a backbone for yourself and saying, hey, this is what I want to do because I want to take care of my body, and not because everybody else is trying to persuade me or convince me to remain in the same place that I've been in. Because who wants to really deal with painful cycles every 3 to 4 weeks? No, we don't want to do that. You know, we're starting our cycles in our teen years, and we're supposed to have them into our 50s and 60s. So this is like 40, 50 years that I got to deal with this? No, let's get it under control. So I appreciate you for writing the book. I thought it was pretty cool because after you wrote the book, you were getting people involved because you were still active duty at that time. Again, we weren't married yet, but you were getting people involved on like things they could switch, as far as like using menstrual disc instead, or watching what you eat, watching the company you keep around you. We're big on like we talked about sexual trauma. You know, I've divulged to you guys before about my own sexual trauma and how people would try to not say, hey, because I've been raped, or my boyfriend cheated on me, or, you know, my husband had a baby outside of the marriage, you know, hey, this person is sleeping with other people and they want an open relationship, but I really don't want no open relationship. You got to be mindful that all that trauma that comes into that vagina, it hinders your womb, whether you want to believe it or not. whether you want to believe it or not, it truly hinders your womb. All right, guys. So that's just something to be mindful of. The other disclaimer I want to give, and this might be too much, so if I need to snip it out, I will. But another thing that I noticed with the LGBTQIA, a lot of people hear that we have sexual trauma and they're just like, oh, it's because you had sexual trauma. No, 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 no. Both of our sexual trauma came. We already knew we were lesbians, okay? We were already in that thing. The sexual trauma came after that. So it's not like, oh, y'all became lesbians because you had sexual trauma and then you did this. Nah, we were already set in that. The sexual trauma came after that. So deep in the game, deep in the fish. Okay. So that's something I did want to actually bring up as well. Another thing I want to bring up, and if it's TMI, I apologize. Like me and Babe connected on our cycles during the first time. Like we knew then, or she recognized then, like if you're sick and you're on your cycle, I will go over and beyond to take care of you. We're not going to go into detail what that means, but she understands that we have had a situation 10 years ago that I understood what she was going through on her cycle. And
we can talk about some of it.
Talk about some of it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not going to talk about...
I'll kind of talk about what we were going through.
Okay.
It kind of deals with what we're talking about right now anyways.
I'm just going to say the part of, I loved her so much, she was sick on her cycle, and I took her tampon out and gave her a bath and put her tampon back, put a fresh one back in. That's real love right there. So
let's do a backstory. Let's do a backstory. So when we met, I was coming off of doing a clinical trial study in San Antonio. And the clinical trial study was about medication that helps with severe menstrual cramps.
And just pause, guys. San Antonio, Texas, just for you.
Oh yeah,
those of you, because I forgot we're we're global. We in different continents. So San Antonio, Texas is a place in the state of Texas in the United States. Sorry.
Yes. So I was living out there with family, and I was doing this clinical trial study. Some people got placebos. Some people got the actual drug. I at first thought I had got maybe the placebo until I realized I was just taking ibuprofen. But when she came into my life, I was coming off of that. And with me coming off of it, my body had a reaction to where it just completely shut down in the middle of me being in the tub. And it was that moment that I realized not only does this woman truly care about me, but she gonna be there to make sure I'm good. Because it was a point in my life, I thought I was about to die, y'all. I didn't know what was going on. You know, she didn't know what was going on because I hadn't told her about me being in a clinical study or anything like that. But yes, she held your girl down. And that's one of the reasons why I will always have love for this lady.
Yeah, I can kiss you on camera in front of everybody now. I can't be tonguing you down. But yes, that was 2014 because we met 2013. So yeah, that was 10 years ago when that happened. So, and that at that point, guys, I hadn't got my master's yet. Hell, I hadn't even got my bachelor. I was still working on my bachelor's at that time. I was a chef. So it's like I didn't even have the knowledge that I had now. I was still using Tampax tampons. I was still douching. Like I was still doing all these things that was not healthy for our cycle. So it's crazy that we had that incident and now we circle back around 10 years later and look at where we're at. I'm advocating for, I'm trying to be a menstrual activist, looking over my shoulder at Angela Davis, trying to be that menstrual activist up in these streets. So I just think it's just super important, again, just to shift your mind, because we have experienced a lot of things with our cycles together and just to see where we're at now. And because she even knows like the type of cramps I had. I used to bleed for 14 days, just seeing that I don't have any of that. I thought that was really cool. Once we got together, that she was willing to shift her mind on things. Because at that point, when we got back together, I had already reversed all my illnesses and I was still trying to put the finishing touches on how to truly get rid of menstrual cramps. That was like the last thing I was working on. So this meant a lot for her to write this forward because she knows that I grew up as a very sickly baby, a very sickly child. In my adulthood, she met me when I still had my inhaler. Like I used to keep my inhaler in my purse. She's seen me with glasses and without glasses. I told you these are non-prescription, but I had to wear prescription.
These are real, y'all. I can't see without these.
So it's just a really great moment to circle back around on. So let's talk about describing like do you mind describing your difficulties, obstacles, or challenges with having your cycle in the military? Whether that's PT, and if for those of you who don't know, PT is when they work out in the morning where they're training. When they have to go to trainings, like when you're out in the field and you don't have access to a regular restroom, you have a porta potty. If you're having to kind of go off the grid for a little bit and you're like away from the world, like how is it dealing with those difficulties or trying to figure out like how am I going to take care of myself and I'm bleeding but I'm out in the desert? Like, let's talk about some of those difficulties.
One of the main difficulties for me being in the military wasn't so much as going into the field, it was managing being sick on my cycle while being active duty. You know, being in the military, you can't just call in to work because you're sick. You can't just go to the doctor and get a doctor's note. Like, you have to display severe symptoms for them to be like, you know what, I can see that you've been up all night, throwing up, being sick, you haven't eaten in days, you need to rest. Then I would get quarters. I didn't experience that until I went to Korea and I actually had a male PA that was like, yeah, you need to take these couple of days and breathe.
So I don't know what a PA is.
It's physicalization. You know, just
I'm sorry, military life, we all about acronyms. So we be saying all these acronyms and I have to be like, okay, the people don't know what the acronyms mean. But yeah,
you know, just your basic doctor that you go see. And so once that actually happened, I'm like, okay, so they're starting to see that women need, you know, some extra time. They give you a little bit of grace. You know, when I went to Fort Hood, which is now Fort Cavazos, my leadership didn't understand the severity of my issues until I had to get extra testing done because of this, that, and the third. And they were like, okay, let us know when your cycle's coming so we can kind of work with you. You know, before then it was you okay? What's wrong with you? You looking a little sick. You okay? And it's like you just have to suck it up and keep going. But when it comes to being in the field, it's one of those things you have to be over prepared. But when you're a female and you're in the middle of the woods, you're not gonna want to remove a tampon in a porta potty, or if you don't even have porta potties in the middle of the woods, what you gonna do with that? You know what I'm saying? Everybody know what a tampon look like, and it's gonna be like, ooh, who out here dropping tampons?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like one of those things. Like every female in the military, I don't care who you ask, they're gonna say they do not want to go to the field when they're on their cycle because they don't want to have to deal with the cleanup factor.
Right.
You know, and so having sanitary napkins and having tampons, even though they're not the best for you, it's what you got to do when you're in the woods.
And that is like to swallow. Like when she was still active duty, let's see, you've gone to I think you've gone to the field maybe twice while we were together.
Yeah, I didn't really. They were deployed and I didn't go, so
not the time they went to Poland, but I'm thinking like January.
Oh yeah, we didn't go to the field much.
Yeah, January 22, April 21.
I went like about 2 or 3 times the stint that I was with you.
And those are like things that I was worried about. Like, how are you gonna sanitize your fingers? And at this point, I had already introduced the menstrual disc to her. So you know, have you guys have been on my website or any of my links, I have demonstrations on how to put the disc in and out. And it's like, you know, when you're at home, you just roll your finger over and roll it under the sink and wash your hand. But when you're out in nature and you have to stick your actual hand in your vagina and you haven't had a chance to wash it, then you got to pull it out, do the draining.
It's a whole process.
It's a real process. And it's things that I think people don't really think about of what menstruators have to deal with in the military. And you will automatically think like, oh, women, but you got to think about the non-binary people. You have to think about anybody that has transitioned that still may be active duty in the military and things that they have to deal with their cycles that people just really, I don't think about. And as big as an organization as the military is, you know, I don't even know how many menstruators serve in the military. I know it's got to be thousands. It's got to be in the 100,000s. It has to be. And these are things that people have to consider and deal with that I don't think people really are thinking about. But however, if you start shifting your mind, if you start doing healthier habits and things to monitor and control your cycle, you might not have to deal with the pain out there. And then also just finding what product works for you. in that type of situation. All right. And then let's roll into, so how did it's funny that we mentioned menstrual disc. So how did the discovery of the menstrual disc assist with being an active duty soldier?
Oh, it was life changing. It made the day go by a lot smoother, not having to worry about overflow. Once I started using disc, I had a few female soldiers under me, and so it was like I want them to be as healthy as possible, because if you're a female, you've asked another woman a time or two, hey, you got a pad or a tampon,
Let me go get in
but
your
I
purse.
stopped using those. And in our uniforms, we had these little pockets on our leg, and I always slide about 1 or 2 discs on each side. You got to have an extra, because you never know when somebody's going to ask you if you got something for them. So I always kept an extra in my leg pockets. And I had a soldier ask me, hey, Swarm, you got a tampon? I'm like, oh, I don't use those. I'm like, well, what you use? And I'm like, try this. And it started out with just one of them trying this, and then the next one she came with her, like, hey, Swarm, you got a tampon? I was like, I don't wear those. Try this. And so after me sliding over, a disc or two to them, it became a thing where they started wearing discs, and I asked them, like, well, how do you like the disc compared to what you were using? They were like, oh, it's so much easier. It's, the cleanup's not bad. I can handle this in the field. It was one of them things that we all kind of learned how to work with the disc. Like, okay, if I'm going to have to do this, let me just take a extra canteen with me to the field so I can have it to wash my hands.
Right.
Keep a little bottle of soap on you so you can squeeze it and wash your hands when you get done. So that way you come out the porta potty, you good. And they usually have little hand wash stations, but they hardly ever have water. So you learn to prepare and have your own, and so once introducing the disc to them, they started kind of doing the same thing with the other female soldiers that they were hanging out with, at the junior level. So it makes a difference.
Right. I remember being at your house and needing a disc, and I couldn't find them in the box. And I called you. You was like, oh, yeah, I took some to work. And I was like, normally I would be mad about something like that. But it's like, okay, you're helping other people. You're trying to put people on. Girl, I got one stuck in the, in my purse. Or, let me go ahead and put this order in so we can have a box for tomorrow. So I thought that was pretty cool.
I pulled one out my pants.
Like it came in handy, and as long as it was educating people and putting people on to different ways on how they can better manage their cycles, then I'm always going to be down for it. So guys, we're going to take a quick commercial break and we will be right back with you. Welcome to KickCrampsAs.org. Now, feel free to subscribe and get 15% off. By doing so, you're subscribing to our newsletter and you'll receive the latest news, resources, and updates. We appreciate you for connecting with us, so we want to get you with 15% off on your first order. So go ahead and leave your first name, your last name, and your email address, and you'll have this 50% off coupon that you can use towards your first order. Now, back to the show. Welcome back from that commercial break, guys. We hope that you enjoyed it. So let's talk about what defining moment allowed you to shift your mind and transition to a plant-based lifestyle. Before you answer that, okay. So when we were together the first time, I was not plant-based. Like I said, I was heavy in chef life. Oxtails, what? Gumbo, what? Like, we eating everything. Banana pudding, heavy cream, and everything, right? But once we got back together, I had already been plant-based by that time. 3 years. 3 years.
Mm-hmm. Right before I went to Korea.
Mm-hmm. And I was very stern on when I got into another relationship that person had to be plant-based, because they just need to understand the lifestyle that I was choosing to live, and understand, like, you're not about to be cooking that meat up in my fresh new pots. You're not about to be inhaling and taking in all these things and think I'm about to put my mouth on your vagina. I'm just saying, like, I'm being real raw right now. Like, I don't want to, if I'm getting rid of all these chemicals and things that are causing these diseases and this illnesses in my body, what do I look like? Kissing on you, loving on you. We're sharing, if you're coming over on date night, I'm coming over date night. This is, of course, before we cohabitated. It's like, no, that's going to be hard for me. Like, even now, we can't even go to certain restaurants because if I smell, like, if they bring out, like, for instance, it's like a Korean barbecue spot we like to go to. They have all vegan side and then they have a regular side. I have to be mindful when I see them on the regular side bringing out food because I have to hold my breath when I see something sizzling coming out because literally the smell of meat bothers me like that. It makes me sick to my stomach now, and that's crazy. So what was that like for you? Knowing, okay, guys, I've talked to you about it before. I'm a Cancer. I'm a Scorpio. She's a Cancer. And Scorpios were very strong-minded on what we believe in. And if you feel like we're being backed into the corner, we're going to get our tail and we're going to sting you to move you out of our way. So I just want to know what that was like for you coming into this relationship, knowing like, is she not going to budge on that?
So for me, it wasn't so much as, oh, she not gonna budge. It was I was already in a state where I was already contemplating going to a vegan diet. I had already had a couple different restaurants from like the Houston area before you and I linked back up. So it was like, okay, I think I could do this. And then you and I seen each other, got together, and you said, hey, watch this. I'm like, watch what? He was like, watch What the Health. I'm like, okay. I'm in the field, okay, during my downtime, in my tent, with my phone, watching What the Health. Now, if you watch What the Health, then you know what I'm talking about. Like, they show you what is really in food, what the animals go through, what you truly eat, all the pus, all the nasty stuff. And
all the cancer.
I'm in the middle of the field in the Army. Like, okay, so what I'm about to eat? Like, let me go over here and eat this peanut butter out this MRE packet. And so I was like, you know what? Let me just eat what I got so I can survive while I'm in the field for this week. But once I came out, I've been vegan ever since. Like, it's been hard. It was very hard being in the military and trying to convert to a vegan lifestyle when everything is so meat driven.
Right.
On post, you are going to always find a Popeyes and a Burger King, and it was just
Chili's.
Yes, especially the bigger places. You're gonna find a Chili's, Applebee's,
right.
Overseas. You have Texas Roadhouse, so you're going to always find places that always have meat. Like, they do have healthier options. Like, when I was at Fort Cavazos, I could be on post and go to Cadoba. I can go there instead of, going to Freebirds was out there, stuff like that. Like, I had options. And once you actually got more involved into my life, you kind of helped navigate that journey and made it a lot easier, because I know a lot of people give up early because they don't know what they're doing.
Right.
So you kept me pretty much focused on the goal and like, hey, this is going to help you with your cramps. I'm like, well, whatever's going to help me with my cycle, I'm game to try it, because I'm the type of person, I'm not going to say what I don't like or what I can't do if I've never tried it. Like, I used to say I don't like mushrooms. You can't be vegan and not like mushrooms, because mushrooms is everywhere. Now I'm like, hey, babe, you want to try this lion's mane? Because I think I want to turn it into a steak for us.
Let's do this pink oyster mushroom and make this into some chicken tenders.
I do not like mushrooms, but now I love eating them just in different forms and different types of mushrooms instead of the standard mushroom that everybody cook with. Like, I never heard of lion's mane until now, but I actually love lion's mane.
I think
even cordyceps.
I think avocado is another one.
Yes.
That when I first told her, because like I did not like avocado before I went vegan. That sounds crazy, but I couldn't stand guacamole, I couldn't stand avocado, and I couldn't stand mushrooms. And when we got together, I'm like, the two things, because I knew we both did not like mushrooms and avocado the first time we were together. And I'm like, I know it sounds crazy, but you're going to develop a love for these things.
Mm-hmm.
In the first year or so, she still wasn't messing with it. But now she's like, oh, she be coming out making her avocado toast in the morning for breakfast. I'm like, okay, your guacamole be hitting too.
Telling you, when you find a love for something, there's nothing that's going to stop you from learning more about it. And since we've been together, I've learned so much, not just about being vegan, but about my cycle and knowing what to put in my body that's going to help. And I think with this recent cycle ending just a couple of days ago, we discovered that we're on the right path.
Exactly.
You know, and so with that, I'm like, well, if being vegan is going to keep me from throwing up for 4 days straight and not being able to eat anything or keep any liquids, not even water down, then I'm going to be eating these mushrooms and these damn garbanzo beans.
Yep. I remember the first time with us getting back together, the first time she got sick on her cycle. Again, we weren't cohabitating then. We were a few hours apart and she was just so sick. And I ended up calling her. I was like, did somebody ring your doorbell? She was like, yeah. I'm like, I sent you some green juices. Yep. She was like, what? So then it's funny because in the book, she has a comment that she writes about the green juice. I'm like, look, you need to have this. I
struggle drinking that green juice.
I'm like, bro, you need kale, you need collard greens, you need ginger, you need turmeric, you need cinnamon, you need some spirulina in your life. Like, we need to put all these things. You need nuts, you need seeds. We're going to put hemp seeds and pumpkin seeds and dates. And it's just like,
I didn't understand it back then.
Like, what's all that? And it's just because, same thing with me. I didn't know about any of that. My mom and them weren't cooking with dates. Like, when I first saw a date, I'm like, this is an oversized raisin. Like, it's things that I just didn't know, you know, in childhood. So I love the fact that you transition. I even think about, because when we did first get back together, we went several weeks. It was almost like 6 weeks before we saw each other. And then when we had our first meeting, I was like, okay, I'm gonna take you to a vegan restaurant. And she was like, she looked at that menu. She said, just give me a grilled cheese sandwich. And I'm like, dude, you can get macaroni. You could get hot cocoa. You could get a fried steak. You could get,
give me that.
You know,
give me
they
that.
had chicken and waffles. Shout out to Spiral Diner. That location actually closed. It was a downtown location in Dallas, Texas. It's a location we actually got to see Erykah Badu at. Mm-hmm. Shout out to other vegans in the world eating healthy and looking good. Fine ass in her 50s looking great. Shout out to Erykah Badu though. Miss Erica Wright if you're nasty. But seriously, like she was just like grilled cheese and french fries. And I'm like,
I had to play it safe.
So then she had it, and I was like, well, try some of mine. And I had like a barbecue dish with like broccoli, mac and cheese. And she was like, oh, okay, it's okay. And so then I was like, okay, let me go for what you like. Because, you know, we're from the South. I'm like, my baby like catfish. She loves banana pudding like I love. So then we went to Vegan Food House.
Mm-hmm.
So she started trying like Cajun food and she was like, all right, okay, hold on. We on to something. Then we found the spot called the Munchies. I hate that the Munchies is not open no more. They were in Dallas as well, but they were soul food. Beef tips, catfish, anything Southern and Cajun, they sold it. They even had like infused fruit juices and dropping CBD and other things in their juices. It was like great. So once she got in the habit of eating things that she loved. I know my baby loves hamburgers, so it's a spot in Austin called Arlo's. Took her to Arlo's for a double bacon. Oh no, it was a regular
bacon
cheeseburger, barbecue bacon cheeseburger. And it's like, once she started, like I give advice to you guys, once she started eating the things that she loved vegan, it's just like, okay, now I got my favorites. Now let me start trying the other stuff, because I can definitely say like, the first year we got together, I probably couldn't have gotten her to do a raw cleanse. Now we're doing raw cleanses a couple times a year, right? But before, she would have been like, what we going to do? Eat just salad?
I mean, I like salads now, but back then it was like, okay, so now I'm about to just have a salad without my grilled chicken. Like, what the meat going to be?
So it took a lot of trial and error. Even us going to restaurants, like... Perfect example. We went to a restaurant, and I'm going to call y'all out. BJ's in Temple, Texas. Straight told us, we don't have nothing vegan in the food that we giving you. Everything, I mean, we don't have nothing bad in the food we give you. This is vegan, this is vegan, this is vegan. Just for us to find out, like a year later, the dish that they were giving us wasn't even vegan.
Man, I was tearing that bread up.
I was like, so again, it's even hard to eat out. We don't even like eating at certain spots. Like if it's not all vegan, or we know like it's a fine dining restaurant or an established restaurant that we know y'all know the difference between what's vegan and what's not. Because we'll still go to vegan, like places that say they're vegan. They're like, oh well, I add heavy cream into the Thai tea, and it's like, that's dairy. You can't give that to somebody that's vegan. Or they're like, oh, we do Thai food, vegan Thai food, but the egg rolls, we still brush it with egg to wrap it in.
But it's like, just to close it.
It's just to close it. And it's like, no, that's not vegan. So we're super picky on what we eat. And I think you just notice a difference, like health, skin, endurance, like even working out. Yes, she was in the military. Yes, she's working out all the time. But even now, like we can get up and go run. Like we can go, like yesterday, we hiked 2.5 miles. Then we came home and we did a 25-minute hardcore Pilates. And then we still had to turn around and go take the dog for a walk. You know, then we walking up and down the stairs in different parts of the house and all this other stuff. And it's just like, 10 years ago, that might have been more difficult. Like she said, after gaining the weight after birth control, that could have been a little bit more difficult. And it's just the endurance, and we feel healthier, going to bed peacefully, waking up peacefully. Mm-hmm. Like it just means so much more to have a clean body, mind, and spirit. It helps overall with shifting your mind as well. Because the cleaner your mind gets, the less chemicals and the less junk and toxins you're putting in your body, the less amount of chemical reactions you're going to have in the body that might deter you or keep you on a path. Another thing before we go to the next question I want to talk about is sugar cravings. A lot of people say, I have a sweet tooth, and you're not realizing that. And hold your seats, because some of y'all going to be like, what? Baby, when you have a sugar craving, that's your body craving for that thing, meaning you're addicted to it. So the same way a crackhead fiends for crack, the same way a heroin addict fiends for heroin, the same way somebody that smokes cigarettes all the time fiends for their cigarette. It's the same thing with sugar. Mm-hmm. You don't want to think that sugar is an addiction, but it is. And in America, unfortunately, in the United States, sugar is one of the highest killing ingredients we have, because sugar does not digest well in the body. It forms into mucus. So when you say, oh, I have a sweet tooth, no, your body is fiending for sugar. Just like when you're an alcoholic, but you don't want to claim that you're an alcoholic. But if every day after work, you have to have a drink, if every weekend you have to have 2 or 3 drinks, if every time you get upset, you have to have a drink, you have to be honest with yourself and look at yourself in the mirror. And this is not me being judgmental. This is coming from a former alcoholic and a former drug addict that's trying to speak some real shit to you. So I want people to start recognizing that food can be considered a drug. Like most people don't realize caffeine, nicotine, and sugar are what they call the 3 free drugs that most people don't know about, because those 3 things will have you so addicted to ingredients. Like most people think caffeine, oh, it's only coffee. No, that's Red Bulls. That's all types of energy drinks. That's all types of sodas. Those are things that you just have to be mindful of. All right. So I know some of y'all probably think like, I know this bitch just did. And I did. I did. So what changes or improvements have you noticed on your cycle since following KCA's formulas? So some of the symptoms you talked about before, like vomiting I've literally seen you down for 10 days and losing like 10 to 15 pounds because you can't eat nothing, but you're throwing up nonstop. Let's talk about some of those symptoms.
Where do we start? My symptoms started out with being just mainly just straight pain. And I don't mean just not, that hurts. No, like double over in pain, can't walk.
You should have waited till I swallowed my drink.
I'm sorry, my love. But that's what it is. It's not oh my God, that hurts.
Yeah.
Pop an aspirin, you'll be okay type pain. It wasn't that kind of pain. It was, right. It truly felt like somebody was jabbing a knife just at my uterus the entire time. Like, that's what I dealt with. And since I've started this new regimen, I don't go through that pain anymore. Like, that, once we started getting rid of the pain, things started shifting for me.
Right.
Paying attention to what I was eating started to have my cycle shift for me. One thing we realized with the growth of the tumor was that it was soy-induced.
Yes.
So once we learned that I need to limit my soy intake, that changed how we were eating when we were eating out. Like you can be vegan and still eat bad food because you're eating, impossible and beyond. You're eating stuff that's not good for you and it's full of soy. So when we decide we want to eat out and not cook at home, it's like, okay, so where do we want to go? Well, I can't have that because that's soy. So once I started limiting that soy intake, that pain went away.
Facts.
And just recently, we've been trying to figure out, one, why did I all of a sudden just started throwing up out of nowhere for days on end? Like that
Right.
came once we got rid of the pain.
Right.
And so we, again, started clocking what I was eating and what was causing the pain, because the only real bad symptoms I was having on my cycle was the throwing up for days on end, and then, the pain. Got rid of the pain. Now we've kind of started getting rid of that throwing up.
I ain't gonna say kind of started.
Well, we did, because I didn't throw up this month. So that was like, okay, so what did we do? So we look back and see, what have I been eating? What did I eliminate? What did I add?
Right.
We got rid of the soy that was in the processed food, and that made a world of difference, because I don't choose my favorite dishes that are beyond or impossible. I eat my burgers. If I'm going to have any kind of a burger type situation, it's going to be a black bean quinoa type situation,
mushroom, lentil.
or mushroom and lentil. So because it doesn't have that extra soy in it.
Right.
And so once we figured that out, I went from having, I think the first time I started throwing up, it was like 7-8 days straight. And then it went down to like 5 to 6 days. Then it went down to 4 days. And then this month, by us monitoring what I was eating and drinking, watching my sugar, make sure my body temperature was good and everything like that, I didn't get sick, which was a huge revelation for us. So dealing with those symptoms and learning how to handle them and paying attention to my body is what helped us, through the guide, get rid of what my body was going through during my cycles.
You hit the nail on the head on so many gems. I think the first thing I want to touch on is, just because you're vegan doesn't mean you're healthy.
Mm-hmm.
All the stuff that we really like once we, and I've divulged to the podcast before, we live in Las Vegas, Nevada. And when we came to Vegas and we started seeing all these places, we were like, let's go. Like some of our favorite places, and some of our favorite dishes, we had to learn, like soy.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of white rice still being used at a lot of places. It's kind of hard to go to any type of Asian restaurant. Like when we found, it's a place out here called Daikon Sushi. When we found they had black rice, we were like, okay,
It's
in
so
that
good.
thing. We have a Asian spot, a Thai spot that does brown rice options, just finding those alternatives. But when it came down to, okay, we want to, again, sugar cravings. We want something sweet. We want this. We have a spot, Ronald's Donuts, that got everything. She has like 4 shelves.
No, I love my donuts.
Cinnamon rolls, bear claws, apple fritters, kolaches, like everything's vegan. And we had to soon realize, like, okay, why every time I eat her, my stomach go from my little 4-pack that's coming back in to now I look like I'm 3 months pregnant.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we're going to certain restaurants. I hate to say it, but it's a restaurant called Modern Vegan. They have so many good foods, but the thing that I love, I have like a crab cake dish there. I have popping jalapeno poppers there, and it's so good once it's going down. But the next day, when my stomach is just like, your body will always tell you, like, you didn't put too much of something or too little of something. Is something I've talked to you guys for both seasons now. Your body is going to let you know. You start having acne, you might break out, you might start getting headaches, you start having things happening to you. You're like, why do I have a headache all of a sudden? Or why am I a little bit more bloated? And you're not really registering that, hey, I ate this yesterday, or I ate this earlier today, and my body's now reacting to it. So I think that's very important. Also, when you're talking about like the decrease in your days, I think, the longest that I saw you sick, it was either 9 or 10 days. Yep. And that was like big. But the other thing I pay attention to as far as plant-based is, I convince her to make her dog vegan too, which is
Yep.
our dog. Let me not say her dog. I came into the relationship with her and her fur baby. I don't even want to say step fur baby, but
That's your baby.
that's my baby. But it was something I even started coming to her about, like, let's start feeding Chanel this. And I always make the joke, like, me and Chanel had a moment the first time I cooked like homemade food for her. I made her some New Orleans style red beans, and it's just the look when she bit into it and looked at me and was like,
You can stay.
like, girl, this is what you be eating in that bowl. So it's funny now because when I cook beans and she starts smelling it, she thinks like, oh, we all about to eat. Like, y'all not just getting that out. We about to get that. But we even noticed the difference in her. She was already energetic. She's a Chiweenie. So, you know, Chihuahuas can be very hyper, but she's very energetic. Like, we can go run for a mile and she can run with us.
With a smile on her face.
With a smile on her face. And like, why y'all stopping? Y'all old. Like, I want to keep going. Like, y'all knocking on 40. I'm just 3. You know, like, come on. The other thing we noticed is like the change in her coat. Like, she's chocolate brown and white, and the white in her coat, her fur is just such a fluorescent, beautiful white. She's she's alert. And the thing that we laugh about is like when we travel, where we don't take her, she typically goes with us everywhere we travel. But if we're going out the country, extended time, or we're just trying to have us some me time, she has a dog sitter we go to. We take her to her Nana Rhonda, and we have to be mindful of even doing that because we notice like if we take her, or even when we were still in Texas and we'll take her to like her best friend's house or something, the other dogs like her food. They looking like, hold on, we getting kibbles and bits and you getting homemade food. Like, she gets homemade food. Like, we cook all of her food. And it's now not just her food, her treats. We went from, I'm like, babe, don't give her water out the faucet. She drinks spring water with us. And now she done got bougie because one day I didn't have that much water and I was going to the grocery store and I tried to give this little heifer some other water and she looked at me like,
would you drink it?
I don't want that no more. I haven't had that in a couple of years. I want that spring glacier. Like, what you like, give me that fresh spring water. So, but we even noticed the difference in our pet. You know, I hate to say pet, our fur baby, you know, like people don't really pay attention to what you put in and on your body and how that can help. And just noticing like even her difference in
her
the way
chest is like more broad and stout.
Her legs, like, her arms are like
she is jacked for a little Chihuahua, and they are known to be either really, really small, petite, skinny, scrawny things, or they just fat, overweight. And she is a good mix of I wouldn't say a thoroughbred because she's a mixed dog, but she is a good mix of what a good healthy dog is supposed to look like.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we think that is even important. And she doesn't have her cycle. She's fixed. But we still laugh because when we're on our cycles, she on her cycle still too. Like, she'll get an attitude. She don't want to deal with you. She'll come lay all over you and be like, okay, now it's time for my attention. Like, y'all been chilling, like mommy over in the bed. You had a down day because you're like, typically I tell you guys on my first and second day, I naturally plan around my cycle. Like, I'm not going to take a trip. I'm not taking no heavy business meetings. I'm not recording no podcasts. Like, I work around my cycle because I know first day, even though I don't have pain, I want to be lazy. I need to catch up. I need my body to let it do its thing so I can come into my divine goddess energy, right? And God energy, because, I'm going to represent both masculine and feminine. But even then, like, she even changes and transitions with us. Like, I could see her going through her phases. Like, even, like, I laugh, like, because, ovulation phase, that's when you be feeling all sexy and stuff. Like, if I'm in the mirror dancing and stuff, she gonna come dance. Like, that baby love to dance. And even, like, when we're in the kitchen, if we're fixing us something to eat, like, she's already waiting, like, okay, so y'all gonna give me, like, a corner because y'all got that good food. So I think it's just important for you to be very mindful of not only what you're putting in your body, but if you have kids, if you have pets, if you're tending, like, if you're a dependent, I'm sorry, if you have any dependents, like you're caring for like an elderly person, a family member, you adopted somebody, you have foster kids, things of that sort. These are things to be mindful of, that setting that example and whatever you're putting in your body, put it in their body as well, because just like how we started getting issues, they're going to start eventually getting issues as well. Because I think about all my pets I had growing up. I wasn't feeding them whatever, and all my pets are gone. I think one of them is still alive. Yeah, one of them is still alive. Somebody like still has ownership of them, but all my other pets died in my ownership, and it wasn't something that I did. But when I look back at it, it's just like they probably could have lived longer. Like I had a Shar Pei, and we know those are expensive dogs, and they're hard to get your hands on. And I just think back, like, what happened if I was feeding her like all the good stuff? Well, she had an extra 7 years or 8 years of life. You know what I'm saying? So those are things to consider for ourselves. Now, what do you know about your cycle that was not introduced? Well, what do you know about your cycle now that was not introduced to you as a teenager? You know, we come from that old school where your mama told you put on the Kotex. Girl, you know you're going to get your cycle, so have you a heating pad. Like, you going to go through this, and that's just that. You know,
I didn't get any of that growing up, though.
Oh, well, let's
like,
talk about
as
it.
As a teenager, for me, like, when I started my cycle, I was like in 6th grade. And it was one of them things. The first person started her cycle, and everybody thought she was just so cool because she was, she was a little lady now, because she had her first little cycle. But it was one of those situations where you're nervous, you don't want to ask nobody anything, and so you like roll up some toilet paper until you get home to figure it out type situation,
right.
Because you in PE, you don't know what you're doing. 6th grade, you ain't never, mom didn't really talk about it,
Right.
But what I wish I would have known about my cycle growing up was learning how to manage the hot and cold symptoms, because I go through heat flashes. Now it's like almost 3 to 5 days before my cycle comes. I wish I would have known if you manage being hot and cold, it's gonna help you manage those cramps and anything else that you might have. Like, I wish I would have known that growing up. I guess because I didn't have cramps as a teenager, until like 19. It was like I didn't know I needed to put on a pair of socks just because, I might feel like I'm not cold, but my body might be cold, and getting cold causes you to cramp.
Right.
And so I wish I would have known that.
Yep. We have that in the book too, guys. A chapter about getting too hot and too cold. Most people will say, well, I have hot flashes on my cycle. And sometimes you still have to manage that because you can have heat induced issues, which we've had a podcast episode on. And she's witnessed me have that, like me getting too hot and to the point where I'm about to pass out or I'm about to throw up because I'm just so hot on my cycle. And it's not even hot in the house. Like, it's cool in the house and I'm still like, Ugh. But then again, most people have the issue with being too cold and they don't realize it. Your body loses a lot of iron, potassium, and phosphorus, and magnesium too while you're on your cycle. So keeping socks on, keeping your body warm, not wearing crop tops, like even in like going to bed at night. Like typically when I go to sleep at night, I don't wear anything. I'm very free. But during my cycle, I'm going to have on, girl, I will have on like this. I have this Victoria's Secret nightie that I've been having for the longest. It's long sleeve and long to my knees.
See,
and
you know what time it is.
Right. You already know what time it is when that come out. Then I have tights that I like to wear, specific socks. And it's like my favorite socks are like her military socks. She got me these military socks that are so good, but then she got me a specific pair that's like, it's meant to keep like your legs warm. So she already know when them pair of socks come out, I just started my cycle. Nope. Trying to manage that, because once you manage that, then you're good. And then, like we talked about before, iron is the leading deficiency in the world. I still can't wrap my head around, well, how is that a leading deficiency when you're supposed to be getting all the iron you're supposed to get out of meat? So therefore, when you're eating proper foods with actual iron in it, that's actually going to be good for the body, then you're not going to have these issues. You should be able to control your temperature better. Your flow is going to be different. You're not going to cramp as much. So these are things that we really, really want you to like let set in, and that you might not have even realized before, like, hey, I'm getting cold. Like, why am I cramping? Like, you probably haven't even put the 2 and 2 together, but it has a lot to do with your cycle. So maintaining that body temperature and that body heat is going to be very beneficial for you.
We definitely learned on this last cycle for me that I have to be warm.
You have to.
I will
Our house was on
in,
83 with 117
and I'm
degrees
bundled
outside.
up in a blanket with long sleeves and some pants on and some socks, because for me, being wrapped up in that heat kept me from being sick. And so we learned just a week ago, I need to be warm. I looked at my big toes and they were purple. I'm like, I didn't realize I was that cold. Let me go put some clothes on.
Right.
So.
And it wasn't even, like we said, it wasn't cold in the house. It just felt like that.
Yep.
And I know the way that our house is placed, the way that the sun rises and sets, we're actually lucky at the way that our house is, because the sun doesn't directly beam onto our house in the areas that where our offices are, our master bedroom, all that other stuff, right? But even this past week being on our cycle, it was crazy because we literally had it like 83 or 84 degrees in the house. It was 117 outside. I had just finished doing some homework and I wrapped up in a cover. I had on a hoodie, like a thick hoodie, then a long sleeve shirt under it with tights and socks, and then I wrapped up. She has this Spider-Man.
Thick Korean
she got
blankets.
this thick blanket she got from Korea. It's so thick, guys, and I'm like wrapped up in it. And I took a nap. I took a nap all wrapped up. But guess what? I woke up and I didn't have nobody's pain, nobody's cramps. I just woke up like I'm a little hungry.
Yep.
And then I want to go back to sleep because I'm lethargic as hell. But it's very important on your temperature. Are there any other things you could think about? Because I feel like, especially in the South, everybody that I just knew that we grew up with, like we mentioned, we're in our late 30s, we're OG millennials. So I feel like a lot of the millennials that I grew up with, we kind of grew up where your mama gave you this bit of information and then you just kind of ran with it, but it's because that's what her mom gave her and that's what her grandma gave you and great grandma gave you. We just didn't really have that knowledge. Besides being cold, is there anything else you could think of? Maybe like products or things to be mindful of, sexual partners, sexual activity, hygiene. I think a lot of people don't pay attention to hygiene too, like wiping
that's
front to back
instead
of back to front. And
that's something I was talking to you about the other day. Is like, so when we gonna go get another Yanni thing? Because I don't think I've done one since we left Texas.
Yeah, I've been kind of spoiled because we had our Korean lady that we love that did our Yanni scenes back in Dallas, Texas. We have not done one since here, which is still a good thing though, because that just shows how much we've improved, that we don't even need Yanni steams like that. But it's just good to get a Yanni steam because people don't realize that on the inside of your uterine walls and your vaginal walls, that blood gets stuck, that trauma gets stuck, negative toxic energy gets stuck, whether you want to believe it or not. It can start messing with your chakras. Now, even though your root chakra is what keeps you grounded, your sacral chakra is actually where your wound is. So if that chakra's thrown off a bit, that can, are not in alignment, that can have an effect too. So I think it is important to cleanse out your walls, because the Yanni steam is in I said, babe, I want to take you on a date. I've been doing this thing called Yanni steaming for a couple years, da-da-da-da-da. And she was like, okay, when we got there, she already looking like, wait, first of all, I got to get naked and get on this
around these random people and I don't know them and I got to be naked. Okay, let's go.
Yeah, we went to a Korean spa and had it done. So if you have not been to a Korean spa, once you go in the back in the locker room and you take off your clothes, you're not supposed to wear clothes in the back area. Nope. If you come out into like the common areas where men and women can be together and kids and stuff, then you're supposed to have on clothes. But when you're in the women's locker room area, and that's where they have like the massages, the Yanni steams, the mineral pools where you take showers at, like you have to go. And then like before you do all this, you got to go take a shower first to wash off all, if you have on moisturizer, oils, anything, you got to wash all that off. Then you come. So then, of course, me, I'm like, okay, like, we're lesbians, like you're okay, like we're former athletes, like come on, like locker room, what, like whatever. But it's kind of crazy, when you're a grown person and you haven't been naked in front of other grown people besides the person you've been with, or maybe like you said, battle buddies, soldiers, or athletes in the locker room. It was a like, ooh. But the mugwort, the motherwort, calendula was the basis for our Yanni steams. And after getting our first steam, I think you actually enjoyed it.
Yeah, my lips didn't get too hot.
We talking about the mother lips. It was a very interesting thing, and I'm glad that she did it. I had never done a yoni steam with a partner before, so it was pretty cool for you to indulge in that with me. But yeah, I think that was a pretty cool experience as well, because yoni steams is something I had never heard of until like 2017 was the first time I did a yoni steam, and I had never heard of it. And
I didn't know what I was getting myself into. Let's just say basic training and open bay showers and going to the field prepared me for that situation. Because I was like, I don't like being naked in front of other people, but okay, let's go.
And then it's crazy because you have people walking up because they're curious. They're like, what is this? And then they're just all naked, like, what is this?
Like, you don't get your titties out my face, please.
Because you're sitting down and they're like, their tits and their vaginas like right in your face. And they're talking. You're like, can you back your vagina up, please? Thank you very much. Go talk to the lady that runs it. But,
okay.
But shout out to King Spa in Dallas. That's where we were getting our yoni steams at. And there's so many other actual yoni places you can go to that are more intimate. They'll put you in a room by yourself. If you have a group of people, if you want to have like a girls' night out and stuff like that, they'll do things. We have found places in Vegas I just haven't indulged yet. And that's just because I'm that person, like,
can't just put everything up
you
there.
just can't put everything up there. I want to make sure you're a legitimate business, but also like once you've had really good customer service somewhere and you're tending to, you're used to a certain type of service, I'm like, I'll just do it at home. And then when I go back to Dallas,
that part,
I'll do it then. But yeah, that's the only thing. Is that the only thing you could think of about?
I think also with just us creating like our own products and stuff, that too has helped. Making our own toothpaste, making our own mouthwash, making our own moisturizer,
Deodorant.
So, as tedious as it is, laundry detergent, as tedious as it is, knowing what we're putting on our body, lets us know what's in our body.
Correct.
Because if we're just using all these other products and we don't know what they put in them products, we putting all those chemicals still in our body. And what's the point of living in a clean life and eating healthy if you're still adding those chemicals into your body? Like when you introduced me into, the disc, that helped me because I was always nervous about getting that toxic shock syndrome from tampons because I preferred tampons over pads.
Right.
But when I started having these symptoms of me getting sick and, just being in pain, moving to like period underwear on those first 2 days is kind of a godsend, because when you sick, you don't want to have not even a disc or even a tampon up there because of the enlarging of the uterus or whatever. The enlarging of like my tumor made it uncomfortable. So having something that I can just free flow for those first 2 days at least was a godsend in a sense.
And I love it. My wife just gave y'all a little excerpt of what's to come. So yeah, we've been playing around with some stuff and trying to figure out other things that's going to help people out with KCA. And I think period underwear is definitely a lick, and an option, and something we're going to talk about a lot more in these coming weeks with KCA. But yeah, I think just having the right product and knowing that there's different options for people is good. And then just education. I just feel like menstruation is still such a taboo when you talk about it. We had an episode in May with Whitney from the Sacred Room Connections, and she was talking about blood art and all of that, and that just was new to me. And for the first time recently, I actually like took my menstrual blood and put it in my hand, and even like 5 months ago, I wouldn't have done that. I would have been like, oh, hell no. Like, I'm not doing that. Like, I still had to even shift my mind of, this is not really that nasty. This is a part of you. This is a part of your life. And it was actually empowering. I didn't think it would be, but it was. She told me it would be. And I was just like, girl, it is. I ain't ready to put it on my face yet. I'm not ready to do no facial or artwork and stuff, but I'm working my way up to still dropping the, my cycle, it's blood, it's nasty, it's this. Even like, I kind of laugh when you see these commercials and these memes and things that people do. And even if they get like a piece of blood, just even right here, it's just like, blood on my hand. It's like, girl, it's coming from you though. Like, you know, it's just like shifting your mind. And I think just once we're more educated on the menstruation process, then I would love to not have people turn their nose up. Being a menstruator, like even us being menstruators, we still turn our nose up because we just think it's just so dirty and nasty. And it's really, like we said before on a previous episode with Moonian, it's a rite of passage. It's very powerful for menstruators to menstruate. Yeah, so that's that. I do want to ask, do you have a regimen or ritual to prepare your menstrual cycle with? Now, we know she go by the formula. And living in a household with the person that made the formula, I know you probably have it easier
Oh, yeah.
than some of these other individuals because you have me right here kind of. But I still feel like in these last few years that we've been back together, you have taken lead on a lot, and you have, you know, like when she was saying making products, my babe makes mostly all those products. Like I'm the one that's like, babe, like the soap is too strong. Like I can't put it down there yet. Or, you know, like let's rearrange this or let's do this. Like she's the one that's like curating and cultivating everything. So what is your regimen?
Well, I used to didn't have one.
Yeah.
It used to be, okay, my cycle's here. Let me go get this bag of spicy nacho Doritos, some grandma cookies, and, you know, a Welch's grape drink or something, you know. It just...
That concentrated juice.
Girl.
That Lord's Supper juice.
Girl. And so it was usually just that, or either I'd get a payday and a Coke, you know. That used to be my thing. That's what I used to do for my cycle. But now it's, okay, so am I going to have a good cycle? You know, before this previous cycle, it's like, okay, I can tell that my cycle's coming. So let me go ahead and, you know, start making sure I have the clothes that I want to wear prepared. Let me make sure I got those thick socks that I want to wear, you know, for my cycle. Let me make sure I got those clean.
Right.
Like, I'm making sure that I have what I need to stay warm. I'm making sure I have my tea ready, you know, because usually I don't feel like doing anything when I'm on my cycle, you know. And now it's like, okay, so what's going to be my new routine? Am I going to just continue to drink tea? Because at one point I couldn't do anything on my cycle.
Right.
And so I didn't
Barely
really
water.
didn't really have a routine because I couldn't eat anything. I couldn't really move. And so it was just sleep. Sleep was my routine.
Right.
Sleep and stay warm was my routine because I couldn't keep anything down and I wasn't eating anything for, you know, a week, basically. Mm-hmm. And so now my routine is, let me make sure I stay warm. Let me make sure I'm not eating soy filled food before my cycle comes. Let me make sure I'm eating injera bread, you know, having African or, you know, having Indian, you know, just eating healthier. So that's my regimen. It's eating healthier and not putting the stuff in my body that's going to make me sick.
Right.
That's my regimen.
And we do really big too, since we track our cycles. Like, I'm telling you, when it's vacation time, I'm like, babe, okay, we go on a vacation, you know, March, July, September, or, you know, November. What's your cycle on them days, on them months? Like, we would even like say, okay, it might push down a little bit, it might move up a little bit, so let's make sure we do it like 2 weeks before then. Mm-hmm. Like, we literally plan everything around, but we make a conscientious effort that week leading up to, since it takes your body roughly 48 hours to digest and absorb their foods. We're making sure like ample amount of leafy greens, ample amount of nuts and seeds, all these womb friendly foods we're always talking about and we're promoting. We're trying to put all that into our body leading up. We're already trying to do it on a daily basis, but we're just trying to make sure that we have enough, because once that body starts shedding the lining and start releasing those eggs that didn't fertilize and that blood starts coming out, then that's just so much nutrients that's being lost in your body. You want to make sure that your body has enough in there so that when you lose that you still have enough to maintain your levels. So like we said, you can maintain your temperature. You can try to decrease the amount of bloating you have. Your breast might not be as tender. Your acne might not be as bad. Your inflammation is not going to be as bad. So just things to consider.
And working out.
Working out is super, super, super important. We're so excited. We've been talking to you guys in September. We're going to be launching a fitness program that we have been proactively preparing for, but working out is extremely important. And we don't want to always promote like heavy endurance workout. Like you don't have to go weightlifting and bodybuilding and all that, but Pilates and yoga goes a long way. It doesn't seem like it does a lot, but there's so many different moves in each practice that is just so beneficial for the wound. When it comes to yoga, there's a form of yoga called Kriyas, which is something that we're going to actually be focusing on with KCA, which is all about healing. It's all about healing disease and unwanted illness in the body. So we're just really excited about that coming up, but just being mindful of like, it's just really important to have movement on your cycle. Cause I think this past cycle was the first cycle I did not work out on my first day in like a year, maybe almost 2 years. It's been like maybe a year and a half because it was just one of those, I was just super tired. And I'm like, you know what? It's okay to have a rest. But typically I will work out throughout my entire cycle. So it's all about knowing what your body can handle and what it can't handle. And if it says, no, I can't do this, it's okay to get rest and stuff. And then when you're feeling back better, then get back on your routine. But you don't want to lose it to where you get on your cycle. Then you're like, okay, I don't want to work out. And then after your cycle, you still don't want to work out. And then you blink, it'd be 1 month, you blink at 6 months. And then next thing you know, it's a year later and you've gotten off of your physical daily activity routine, because in the formula we have that you need to have daily movement. That's part of combating the period symptoms, the pain, and the things that you experience that you really just don't want to deal with anymore. Yep. And then, are there any last remarks or comments that you would like to share before we close out for the day?
Just a quote that you use in your book and that you say all the time, what you put in your body, and what you put on your body is important. And for me, knowing what I'm putting in my body keeps me from being sick. So if I know certain foods is going to cause me to be sick on my cycle, why would I keep eating those same foods? Like, yeah, everybody would love to lose, 15 pounds in 3 days. But what goes in losing those 15 pounds in those 3 days, you don't want that. You know what I'm saying? Because it got to a point where I dread my cycle because of those, those symptoms. Like, oh my God, I'm going to be so sick. I'm not going to be able to eat for a week. I'm going to lose all this weight. Like, it becomes stressful, and stress, produces anxiety. So knowing what you're eating and what you're putting in your body truly does affect other parts of your life.
And I think
get the book. It helps.
And I think optimal wellness in general.
Yes.
Physically, we're talking about food, but spiritually, if you're religious, cool. If you're spiritual, cool. If you don't do either one, cool. But just finding your sense of like inner power,
and
inner being. If you want to pray to God, Jesus, Mary, Allah, like whoever you believe in, just finding your inner power. I think emotionally, food has to do with that, keeping those chemical imbalances. When you're in your cycle, you're going to become emotional. It's a part of the hormones, but it's also a difference if you have a regulated, natural regulation in your hormones. It won't be as bad on your cycle, and then mentally, with it being Minority Mental Health Month, it is very important to pay attention to your mental health. And a lot of people don't realize like other uterine ailments like fibroids, endometriosis, PCOS, a lot of those are stress driven things. So in addition to the food that you're eating, in addition to the alcohol you're consuming, in addition to the your hygiene, your sexual partners, stress also contributes to those things. So you want to be mindful of not being overly stressed out or allowing like invaluable distractions or things that really don't mean shit at the end of the day to hinder you. Because when you're stressed out, your body tenses up, and then that can cause the tumors, the fibroids, the reactions you're having in your body, the inflammation in your endometriosis, even menorrhagia, something that I had to pay attention to. I'm bleeding for 14 days. Literally one day, I told you I can go through like 7 pads and like 6 tampons in one day. One day. Some people could do that in 2 to 3 days. And it's because of everything that I had going on, what I was eating, me being overly stressed, all these things. So these are just things that we want you guys just to be mindful of. Just pay attention to your overall health. But when your wound is together, like the rest of your body, that's like a sign that the rest of your body is at a great wellness spot. Like, that's real true tea. Mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, you're at a good spot. And then for me, I feel like you're financially good too when your womb is good, because you're not having to pay all these co-pays, you're not having to go buy all these prescriptions, you're not having to go do all these extra treatments and things that you need to do to try to put a bandage on your issue versus just resolving, preventing, or eliminating it. Then that's going to save money in your pocket as well. And then that gives you more time to have self-care, self-love, travel, go do what it is that you want to do with your life, honey. But yes, that is going to be it for now. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, guys, and we'll be right back to wrap up. Now, navigating to our resource center, we want to give you guys access to all these complimentary resources that we have available for you. We have our blog, book suggestions, our menstrual blood chart, exercise moves to kick cramps ass. We have recipes. We have reports. We have research studies that helps to prove how holistic approaches assist with achieving womb wellness. We have wellness tips, wellness referrals, so business organizations and individuals that we would like to refer to you that are our strategic partners, womb terminology. Maybe there's some womb options that you're not aware of. This can help you out. And lastly, yoga moves to help you kick cramps ass. Feel free to take advantage of this complimentary resource. All right, guys, now back to the show. All right, guys, welcome back for that commercial break. We hope that you enjoyed it and you thought about a quick tip that you wanted to bring up in regards to helping you out on your cycle.
One thing that I incorporated, especially since we've been back together, is taking soaks. Because I used to not take like soaks. Like as a kid, once you graduated from having to take a bath, to being able to take a big girl shower and stand up, you stop taking, baths, you start taking showers.
Not the big girl shower.
And so I found that, taking soaks on a regular and, on my cycle especially helps. Like that's usually where I get myself under control, and I will start my cycle with a soak, and I like to try to end my cycle with a soak.
Y'all know how I feel about my soak, honey, and y'all know y'all can go cop that Goddess Bath Potion on our website, which is a great remedy to help you soak in, and it gets the womb all nice and cleaned out for you and everything, get you regulated. But yes, taking bath soaks are very pivotal, and it lets you get in your goddess mode. It lets you get in your God mode. Like you just need to be able to submerge your body in water, because that heat not only will help regulate the temperature in your body, but literally having your body submerged in water is a natural healing agent within itself. But it just does so much for the cycle for you just to be able to submerge yourself and kind of get everything regulated. And then also allow your body to sweat and release whatever toxins and chemicals that may be hindering you or impacting you in a negative way that you really don't realize. Like you could have eaten something or went partying the night before, and your cycle is super harsh that morning when you wake up. But then you go take a soak, and it can help you try to release and get rid of some of those things that are causing those effects in your body. So yes, taking a bath soak is amazing. Now, news, announcements, and events. Again, it is the month of July. We're just so excited to be advocating for Minority Mental Health Month and for Fibroid Awareness Month. Okay, guys, so keep up with us. Be sure to participate in our listeners' mail. We're still accepting it, so feel free to comment on this episode. If you want a more personalized experience, you can email us at contact@kickcrampsass.org, and that will be listed in the description of this episode. Now, to recap, guys, we talked about shifting mindsets for menstruation in the military, tips that other affiliates and personnel in the military can participate in to help them on their journey while they're in the field, and things that they can start practicing to make their menstrual cycles more manageable. If you would like to connect with us, you could definitely sign up for a free consultation, and we'll be able to help guide you and give you advice on what you can do. Or if you would like to actually pick up on menstrual therapy services, we'll be able to offer that for you as well, as we have various packages to help you out. We have our base coaching package. We have our actual menstrual therapy package where we include like nutrition plans and makeovers. And then we have our ultimate package that has all of that plus fitness, plus accountability, plus everything personalized just for you. So we're so excited to offer that to you. Now, be sure to like this podcast, share it with somebody that you feel like can resonate on your favorite platform. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Amazon Music. We're on Spotify. We're on YouTube. We're still on Google Podcasts while they're operating. Google Podcasts is getting ready to go away at the end of this month. But we're just so excited. So again, share it with somebody that you feel like can resonate with it. Also, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page because we have additional content that could be helpful for you in regards to this episode plus other things. And then be sure to subscribe to our website because not only do you get a 15% off coupon that you can use at our KCA store, that is a coupon that you have indefinitely, one-time use, but it also helps you to keep up with the latest news, events, and resources that we have going on as we actually release weekly newsletters. All right, guys. But if there's not anything else, we want to manifest a positive, productive, and peaceful menstrual journey ahead. We want to send gratitude to all of you for tuning in, and we hope that you enjoy the rest of your Menstruation Monday and have a amazing rest of the week ahead. Peace.